Hi, my name is Deb Martz, and I'm going to be presenting my paper, Developing Programs to Retain Great Educators. So when I started this journey to get my master's degree, I remember very clearly I was in week 2 and I read a statistic that absolutely shocked me. 41.3% of all teachers in the US will leave the profession within the first 5 years. Even reading it again now, I am shocked. And I remember trying to rationalize because this was in 2013. And I thought, well, 7 or 8 years have passed. Surely this number has gotten better. Wrong. The teacher shortage is reaching crisis levels as the number leaving after just a year in the classroom has hit an all-time high. That was in 2019, before the pandemic hit. More teachers are dropping out after their first year than at any time in the last 20 years, while 1 in 3 leave after 5 years. And a staggering 55% of educators are thinking about leaving the profession earlier than they had planned. That is half our current educators. Now, why? Why is retention important? An article by Garcia and Weiss put it this way: lack of sufficient qualified teachers and the staff instability that accompanies turnover threatens students' ability to learn and reduce teachers' effectiveness. If teachers are constantly changing buildings, changing districts, they never get comfortable. They're always having to learn new policies, they're always having to learn new procedures. They can't just focus on being in their classroom. And students pick up on that. When a teacher is not confident, when they're not feeling competent, students recognize that. And if teachers are constantly leaving, students aren't going to build relationships with them because there's always that chance that that person's going to leave. Researchers have found that there are 4 common reasons why teachers leave: lack of support, burnout, feeling undervalued, and salary. Lack of support has to do with administrative support and peer and colleague support. New hires report feeling isolated, feeling overwhelmed. They're afraid to ask for help because they don't want to look incompetent, and they rarely see their colleagues asking for help. Burnout, first year students or first year teachers especially may have difficulty saying no. So now not only feeling overwhelmed and they're feeling anxious, now they've just volunteered to take more responsibility on. And we all know that once you volunteer, it's almost impossible to get out of it. Add to that the feelings that they're already feeling, and this just continues to grow and to grow and to grow, and pretty soon they're burned out and they can't give anymore. Feeling undervalued. Now, this was interesting because this emotion came from teachers that have been there for 1 to 5 years and teachers that have been there for 20 years. They feel that too many times the decisions being made that affect them are made by people that aren't in the trenches with them any longer. They feel like they know what's going on, and yet their voices are not heard. And the fourth one, salary. It makes me very sad that so many of my friends that are teachers have to take a second job to make ends meet. This is a profession that affects the next generation. So you would think that we would get this part of these reasons correct, but we don't. Now, a lot of the programs that are out there have to do with mentoring. Mentoring is how they try to hit those 4 problems, those 4 reasons for leaving. Mentoring is a trusted, guided, a trusted counselor who helps guide. It's usually an older teacher that's been there longer, paired with a new teacher. When I began researching programs, there were programs out there that had been successful. So I thought, why aren't we using those? Why aren't we implementing those? And then I found out, indeed, most school districts do currently have a mentoring program in place, and yet teachers are still leaving. So why, if we have these programs that are successful and school districts are implementing them, why aren't teachers staying? Now, one possible reason is that in most cases, most of the mentors that are being used are current teachers who already have a full class load. So now we're asking them to add taking care of and helping to grow a new teacher. Remembering that a lot of their time is spent outside of the classroom already, and now we're expecting them to add even more. Mentors are unable to meet the expectations, and the new hires are left to fend for themselves. Now, I want something to be clear. I am not blaming the mentor. I do not believe that this is the correct way to do this. It is not their fault. Our system is broken. Current programs focus mainly on one aspect, the relationship between the mentor and the new hire. Again, we're putting all of our time and effort into the part where we already got them stretched. They can't do anything more. So what my program did and what I tried to do was incorporate some of the baseline items that are working in these mentoring programs, and I added 3 different elements that I have not seen used in current programming. So the first one is university partnership and a new definition of pre-service. The next one is using retired school teachers as mentors. And the last, social emotional learning programs. University partnerships. Now, some schools already have that. There's university partnerships all over the country. Pre-service is usually defined as the time between graduation and hire. I am suggesting that pre-service be any time before they are hired. That includes K through 12. Now, what does that mean? So I want us to think in elementary school. I want us to start looking for possible teachers even then. Just like when we recognize that someone is gifted in math or science, I want us to recognize when somebody might be gifted in teaching. So when that little second grader comes up to you and says, I want to be a teacher, are there things that we can do to be intentional and age appropriate that help cultivate that? You know, there was a really sad statistic that I saw that there is a 28% decline in the number of students completing teacher preparation programs. 28% decline. That means that these students are in their major for 4 years and they go to student teach and they realize, I don't like this. Wouldn't it be great if we could have given them a taste of what it's like to be a teacher from a very early age? Most of the focus with university partnerships is in the high school level. I'm suggesting that it starts in the elementary school. That when we see those people and we identify those students, to let's start giving them a taste of what it's really like to be a teacher. I also want to give access to both campuses to the entire district. So that means elementary school, middle school, and high school can have access to the campus and to the university, and the university can have access to the elementary, the middle school, and the high school. And even though I'm focusing on the education side and the education major, this type of partnership really can be used for any major. So if we're trying to find monies, this could be a good extra reason why this could work. Using retired school teachers. This, I think, is huge because we already determined that most mentor programs in place use teachers that are currently employed, and it's too much for them. Retired teachers have more time on their hands and can devote to not only one new hire, but to several. They have the experience that we need. They have the experience in the district, in the building, in the community, and being up in front of the classroom. Now, this last little part is very important that we recognize placement. For example, where I live, we could not take a West Allegheny retired teacher and put them into a Moon School District mentor program. Part of the thing that a mentor does is helps that new teacher navigate through the nuances of the building, the nuances of the district, the nuances of the parents and communities. If you don't understand that, if you haven't experienced that, you're not going to be able to share that with your new hire. And then it ends up both of you are kind of figuring out how you work through all of these different relationships. So very important that the building that they're going to be in was the building that they were before they retired. There are state and national retired teacher registries that can be used. Some of them even have cities. I know Pittsburgh has an association, Pennsylvania has an association, and then there is a national registry for retired teachers that all could be used. So the big one for me is implementing social emotional learning programs. And I got to be honest, when I first heard about SEL, I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be all kumbaya. Oh, you poor little student. Oh, it's okay that you can't take the test. It's all right. And that we were going to be coddling our students. Well, I'm happy to say that that is farther, farther, farther from the truth. Okay, SEL is a methodology that helps students and adults of all ages to better comprehend their emotions, to feel those emotions fully, and to demonstrate empathy for others. Throughout my career in this master's program, I have said that we as a country are on a very dark path. We don't listen to each other anymore. We don't respect each other's opinions anymore. It's, if you don't like what I say, then you're an idiot. We cannot go on like that. We have to get back to agree to disagree. We have to get back to being able to debate an issue respectfully. And SEL is a way to do that. It helps establish and maintain supportive relationships and make responsible and caring decisions. So if you're angry and you lash out, SEL gives you the tools to kind of take a breath, to calm down, and rationally come up with a decision, either by yourself or together, because we're all in it together. It can help empower students and adults to co-create thriving schools and communities. Remember when we talked about the four most common reasons: lack of support, burnout, feeling undervalued, and salary. SEL helps with all of those things because you're no longer alone. SEL is about the school, the parents, and the community all working together. So you are supported. You're not feeling alone. You're not feeling like you're in a silo. You have people that you can turn to. For burnout, you're not responsible for doing everything. You can have parents get involved. You can have community leaders get involved. Everybody takes a little piece of the pie. And feeling undervalued goes away because it's all of those pieces working together and speaking together to come up with a plan that works best for whatever your needs are. In the beginning, I told you that high teacher turnover consumes economic resources that could be better deployed elsewhere. Well, possibly some of those funds could be deployed for teachers' salary and to pay them what they are worth. In conclusion, teacher retention has been an issue for decades, and it still continues. We must admit to ourselves, to our communities, as parents, as instructors, as administrators, that our current mentoring programs are not working. They are not enough. You know, ever since I became a parent, I 100% understand and